Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines wasn't just another RPG. Back in 2004, it was buggy, broken, and released unfinished, but it also became a cult classic. Players still talk about its incredible writing, its dark atmosphere, and the freedom to roleplay as your own vampire in a city full of secrets. Now, after years of delays and studio shakeups, Bloodlines 2 is finally on the horizon. But this isn't the same game you remember. Instead of a fledgling trying to survive, you'll step into the role of an ancient elder. Instead of stats, hacking, and lockpicking, the focus is on cinematic combat and flashy vampire powers. So, what's actually new? What's been lost along the way? And most importantly, does Bloodlines 2 feel like the true successor to a legend, or is it a completely different beast? Of course, whenever a sequel takes a radically new direction, the most important question fans ask is, what's been left behind? In the case of Bloodlines 2, quite a lot of what defined the original has been stripped away or reworked. And while some of these changes may streamline the experience, others cut into what many fans consider the heart of the franchise. The most obvious omission is character creation and RPG depth. In Bloodlines 1, the journey began with you waking up as a fledgling vampire, and from that moment forward, you shaped everything about your character. You chose your clan, distributed attribute and skill points, and defined your playstyle, whether you were a silver-tongued manipulator, a sneaky infiltrator, or a combat brute. Every choice altered how NPCs reacted to you and what options were available in quests. In Bloodlines 2, this system is gone. You don't start as a blank slate, you are always Fire, the elder vampire protagonist. While you still get to choose your clan, you no longer mold your stats or build your character in the granular way the original allowed. This means less player freedom in crafting your own story and more focus on embodying a specific character written by the developers. Equally important are the mechanical systems that have been cut. Bloodlines 1 gave you a toolkit that stretched far beyond combat. You could hack computers to steal information, pick locks to infiltrate buildings, use stealth to avoid detection, or rely on firearms when supernatural powers weren't the right choice. These mechanics weren't just fluff, they allowed players to roleplay different styles of vampire and approach problems creatively. In Bloodlines 2, those systems are gone. There is no hacking, no lockpicking, and firearms play virtually no role. The focus is entirely on vampiric abilities, powers, agility, and supernatural combat. This tightens the design but also removes much of the improvisational freedom that made the original so memorable. Another significant loss is the stat-based dialogue system. In the original game, skills like persuasion, seduction, or intimidation opened unique dialogue options, and often the most satisfying way to solve a quest wasn't by fighting at all, but by manipulating people through words. Bloodlines 2 takes a more cinematic approach, with dialogue choices reflecting your intent, mood, or clan identity, rather than a dice roll check. While this makes conversations feel more immersive, it removes the sense of building your character to unlock specific social pathways. For players who loved seeing how high charisma or seduction could change an encounter, this will feel like a step backward. Then there's the issue of clan availability. In Bloodlines 1, you could choose from 7 clans right at the start, including iconic options like Nosferatu and Malkavian that completely changed your experience. In Bloodlines 2, the launch roster is just 4, Bruja, Tremere, Ventrue, and Banu Hakim. While Toreador and La Sombra are promised as DLC, the fact that clans are locked behind additional content has been a major point of controversy. For a franchise where clan identity is central to the role-playing experience, this feels less like a creative choice and more like a business decision, and many longtime fans are understandably frustrated. Even the tone of freedom has shifted. Bloodlines 1 was notorious for letting you break the rules of the Masquerade in small, chaotic ways. You could terrify mortals, abuse powers in public, and deal with the consequences, or reload your save when things went south. That unpredictability was part of its charm. Bloodlines 2, in contrast, seems more controlled and curated. The Chinese Room has crafted a narrative with tighter rails, where Fire's story is less about experimentation and more about playing through a defined arc. For some, this focus may feel refreshing, but for others it risks losing the messy, emergent fun that gave the original its cult status. Taken together, what's been removed points to a clear shift in philosophy. Bloodlines 1 embraced complexity, freedom, and roleplay, even when it broke the game. Bloodlines 2 is aiming for cinematic clarity and streamlined systems, ensuring a more polished experience at the cost of depth. Whether that trade off feels worth it will depend on what players value most: the raw ambition of a flawed RPG masterpiece, or the sleek consistency of a modern action narrative game. With all these changes in mind, the big question remains: does Bloodlines 2 actually improve on its predecessor, or does it lose too much of what made the original so beloved? The answer is complicated, because while some aspects are undeniably better, others come at a real cost. Let's start with what feels better. From the very first moment, Bloodlines 2 nails something the original could only hint at: the feeling of being a supernatural predator. In Bloodlines 1, you began weak, and combat was often clunky. Melee swings felt sluggish, guns were unsatisfying, and the AI struggled to keep up. By contrast, Bloodlines 2's combat looks fast, stylish, and fluid. You dash across rooftops, slam enemies into walls with telekinetic power, and vanish into shadows before reappearing for a lethal strike. Every action reinforces the idea that you are not human, you are a creature of immense strength. For players who wanted the vampire fantasy to feel more visceral, this is a huge leap forward. The visuals and atmosphere are another major improvement. Bloodlines 1 captured the world of darkness through writing and dialogue, but it was limited by the technology of its time. Dark alleys often looked copy-pasted, and character models were stiff, sometimes unintentionally comical. Bloodlines 2, built in Unreal Engine 5, transforms Seattle into a living, breathing nocturnal city. The rain-soaked streets shimmer with neon, shadows feel thick and oppressive, and the atmosphere carries a cinematic noir quality that draws you deeper into its world. In terms of immersion, this is the sequel's greatest strength. It looks and feels like a modern World of Darkness story. Narratively, too, there's something intriguing about playing as Fire, an elder vampire. Where Bloodlines 1 was about a naive fledgling trying to survive, Bloodlines 2 tells a story about power, legacy, and the weight of centuries. This gives the writers a chance to explore themes of responsibility, old grudges, and how an ancient predator navigates the modern world. It's a fresh perspective, and while it narrows player freedom, it also allows for more deliberate and cinematic storytelling. But with these improvements come clear trade-offs, and that's where things start to feel worse. The most glaring loss is RPG depth. In Bloodlines 1, building your character was half the fun. You could pump points into seduction to charm mortals, max out hacking to infiltrate networks, or specialize in stealth to sneak past enemies without a fight. That web of interconnected systems gave every playthrough a distinct flavor. Bloodlines 2 streamlines all of this, stripping away stats, hacking, and firearms in favor of supernatural combat. The result is a game that may feel more polished, but at the cost of the freedom that gave the original such replay value. Another weakness is reduced player agency. By forcing players into the role of Fire, the game denies the blank slate fantasy of the first. In Bloodlines 1, your character could be anyone: a sarcastic Toreador, a feral gangrel, a tragic Nosferatu, and every choice reflected who you wanted to be. In Bloodlines 2, you are always Fire, with dialogue choices shaping tone and attitude rather than fundamentally altering identity. While this might create a stronger narrative through line, it limits the player's sense of ownership over their vampire's story. Then there's the controversy over clans. Locking Toreador and Lasombra behind DLC may make financial sense for Paradox, but it feels like a betrayal of what made Bloodlines 1 special. Clans aren't just cosmetic, they fundamentally shape gameplay, dialogue, and roleplay. To withhold them at launch suggests that the sequel is prioritizing monetization over completeness, and it leaves a sour taste for longtime fans. Ultimately, whether these changes feel like improvements depends on what you loved about the original. If you wanted a polished, cinematic vampire action RPG, may finally deliver the World of Darkness experience you always dreamed of. But if you cherished Bloodlines 1 for its complexity, its messy freedom, and its ability to let you craft your own story from the ground up, then Bloodlines 2 might feel like a step backward. The sequel isn't trying to be the same game, it's trying to be something new. And that's both its greatest strength and its greatest risk. The truth is, Bloodlines 2 is not trying to be Bloodlines 1. It's not a faithful recreation of that messy, ambitious role-playing sandbox. Instead, it's a reinvention, one that trades complexity for clarity and freedom for cinematic focus. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing depends entirely on what you want from a World of Darkness game. If you loved Bloodlines 1 for its systems, its emergent chaos, and its ability to let you roleplay a vampire in countless different ways, then you may find yourself missing those elements here. The loss of character creation, stat-driven dialogue, and multifaceted approaches to quests means the sequel won't scratch the same itch. Bloodlines 1 felt alive in its unpredictability, even when it was buggy, even when the mechanics broke. That freedom gave every playthrough a sense of ownership. But if what excites you most is the fantasy of being a vampire, powerful, predatory, and immersed in a city that feels alive with atmosphere, then Bloodlines 2 has a lot to offer. Its combat is flashy and fluid, its presentation is cinematic, and its take on Seattle oozes noir style. You may not get the messy freedom of the original, but you'll get a more polished, focused experience that delivers the sensation of vampire power in a way Bloodlines 1 never could. After 2 decades, it's remarkable that we're even having this conversation. Bloodlines 1 should have been forgotten, yet it endured. And Bloodlines 2, despite its troubled development, has the chance to introduce a new generation of players to the World of Darkness, just in a very different way than its predecessor. The real question is not whether Bloodlines 2 is better than Bloodlines 1, but whether it can stand alongside it as its own experience. A sequel doesn't always need to replicate, it can reinvent. So what do you think? Does Bloodlines 2 look like the true successor fans have been waiting for? Or does it feel like a different game entirely? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out my other videos on clans, gameplay, and the future of the franchise.